myself, with whom I shared a longing for the world and its imagined pleasures. Irresistible girls like Eustacia Vi, Maggie Tulliver, Becky Sharp, and even the wicked Gwendolen Harleth. It is no wonder that my curiosity threatened my peace of mind. I couldn't explain my thoughts or begin to understand them. There was nothing in my family that would have anticipated such a seeking temperament as I possessed, a mystery which often distressed me. Without knowing how to remedy it, I understood that I was already estranged from my parents, if only in my desires, and that my efforts to earn my mother's regard were fruitless. She behaved more like a stepmother to me than a mother, and now and then I questioned if I was indeed her child. She rarely spoke about herself, and I knew very little about her. She'd worked as a waitress in the tea shop in Sligo, where my father, a student at a nearby technical school, took his supper every Saturday night. When my grandfather Palmer died shortly after their marriage, my father abandoned his studies to take over the family shop. My mother said that she'd never have married him had she known she'd be lost for the rest of her miserable life in the filthy bogs of West Ireland. She claimed to envy her sisters. One had run off with a commercial traveller, and the other had drowned in childhood. She was born a fool, she said, and she would die a fool. I did not think her foolish. She had too little charm for that. But her disappointments had rendered her bitter and unkind. My father and I were in constant dread of her. I lived in a chaos of desire and disappointment. When I turned 15, my mother, who had long felt that Mr. Knox was filling my head with ideas that would do me little good in the world of haberdashery, took me from school to work in the shop. I was heartbroken, but no amount of pleading or persuasion could make her change her mind. Mr. Knox sent word through one of my fellow pupils, a smirking boy named Peter, whose father was bailiff at the castle, that he hoped I would continue to read his books and to accompany him on his walks. My mother told Peter to inform our teacher that I was far too busy to idle in the woods. A few days later, I announced that Mr. Knox wished to engage me to clean the schoolroom. My mother, who welcomed the chance for me to earn a little money, allowed me to go to the rectory every Saturday when the shop was closed. When I told Mr. Knox my lie, knowing that my mother would demand to see the money, he said that I'd more than earned it, having read aloud to him for years. He was happy to give me a shilling every week. Mr. Knox particularly liked me to read from the Peterborough Bestiary, which I'd come to know by heart. Cranes divide the night into sentry duty, and they make up the sequence of the watches by order of rank, holding little stones in their claws to ward off sleep. When there is danger, they make a loud cry. The bestiary also advised that parrots be beaten with an iron rod should they refuse to talk, a passage that always made him laugh. He had a pet gull named Wedgwood that he'd raised, from the shell, he liked to say, and the bird often accompanied us on our field trips. Mr. Knox also taught me to keep his lists in order, and through observing the comfort he took in them, I began to keep lists of my own. In my first list, made when I was 12, I wrote a fine pair of shoes, a diary with a key, a parrot, a curling iron. Although we had few customers, my mother did not let me read in the shop, lest it appear that I gave myself airs. To ease the tedium, I studied my father's ledgers as if they held the answers to all that I longed to know. They were narrow books with maroon board covers, and in them were kept the names of customers and their transactions. I conceived elaborate tales to match each entry. The notation, Mrs. Dennis Gurney, dozen handkerchiefs, no monogram, 1 bolt pink tulle, 3 packets needles, made me wonder what Mrs. Gurney possibly meant to do with so much tulle. As it was pink, it could not be for a bridal veil. And less interesting, why she had chosen plain handkerchiefs, as the monogramming was done to order by my mother and free of charge. That the Catholic priest, Father Timothy, fancied costly cashmere hose that had to be ordered from Dublin.